Welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I am your host and co-founder, Aaron Breitman. It is Tuesday, May 16th, coming to you early afternoon of Tuesday, published late Monday, talked about all the family stuff I had going on. And on Monday, we talked about Cliff Amore and his potential for what he's going to do next in terms of the next 2+ weeks. Is he going to return to Rutgers? Is he going to stay in the NBA draft? Is he going to get signed? A two-way deal potentially? Is he going to go overseas? Lots going on there. But I wanted to spend today talking about something I've wanted to talk about for a while now, and that's the 2024 recruiting class for Rutgers men's basketball. Recently bumped up just the last day or so, I believe, to the number 2 recruiting class in the 2024 cycle per the 24/7 composite rankings, right behind North Carolina. And this is a pretty substantial development. But as much as we love to talk about rankings, and I want to talk about that, I'm really more interested in talking about how this class is going to fit. I think a lot with recruiting, it's all about the rankings. You look at certain schools. I mean, Arkansas and Alabama are two schools that they constantly bring in 4 or 5-star talent. And sometimes you look at those rosters and it's like it's almost like they're going to figure it out as they go in terms of how all the talent fits together. And for me, the thing that is so exciting about the 2024 class is you can tell how well thought out this class is from Steve Peichel, TJ Thompson, Brandon Knight, in terms of how they are forming the roster and envisioning those recruits should be there at Rutgers next year. So let's step back a little bit. Obviously, we're heading into the summer. The April live period just finished. Rutgers right now has 3 verbal commits for 2024. Lathan Sommerville, the 6'9" big, just committed a couple weeks ago. He had a very good EYBL, which is the Nike circuit, the prestigious AAU circuit. He's doing really well and is establishing himself as a national name. Rutgers was the first to offer him over 2 years ago, and it's paid off. TJ Thompson played overseas with his father, Marcellus. And what I like about Lathan is that he is not your typical big. If you look at him, he looks like a banger. He looks like a bruiser inside, but he's extremely skilled for a big man at this age. And a big part of that is because his father was a 3-time All-Missouri Valley Conference player. He played overseas professionally for many years. He was a wing at 6'7". So you could see that his skills, those kind of skills, perimeter skills, is something that Lathan has worked on. And he's almost like a cerebral big in the sense of, he's methodical. He's got great hands, soft touch. He's under control. He uses his size well. He has good instincts, and I'm really intrigued by him. He just moved into the top 100, the 24/7 rankings. I think he's ranked 94 now, 94th best prospect in the 24 class, but he's elevated to a 4-star now. And skipping ahead to Arius Bailey, the number 4 player, composite rankings in the country. Such an explosive big. Sommerville definitely, I think, is going to be more the 5. Bailey can do everything. I mean, he is just such an incredible athlete. But I can see how those two fit together. They're different. And Bailey almost isn't going to be defined by a position. He's just the athleticism. It's I guess similar to Cliff in a way, but his game is different. He is much more skilled offensively. He can shoot. He can score multiple ways. He's explosive at the rim, of course, but he's also, pretty good defender at this age. And he seems very coachable from everything you read. Now, he isn't playing on the EYBL circuit. He's playing on, Athletes of Tomorrow in Atlanta. It's not on the EYBL circuit. So I do think it'll be interesting to see his transition. And he plays for a very good high school as well, McCarran. But I'm interested to see that he's not used to playing against the top recruits as much as the guys that play in the EYBL, and that's not a negative against them. It's just something I think. I guess what I'm trying to say is, my long-winded point at the end of this is going to be expectations are going to be so high for this group, and we want them to be. But I think there's also some realistic things you have to think about when they do hopefully arrive. And I think the key date now that we have to watch for, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, is November. November is the early signing period, and that's when. And Rutgers did not have that luxury in the 2023 class, other than Gavin Griffiths, which was huge, the highest rated recruit for now to ever sign in the modern era. But Ace Bailey in line to break that record. They're positioning themselves to be able to sign this class in November and be set, which will give them an advantage going into 2025 and really being able to focus on that, but also having the security of knowing the 2024 class is locked in. So you have Bailey, who his athleticism, his potential, his skill set, he's just extremely dynamic, and he's almost very hard to compare to anyone because he is at the top skill set for a basketball player, for a modern player. He has NBA high level NBA player, all-star potential, no doubt. And then you have Dellquan Warren, who I think does not get enough attention. He's now ranked number 61 nationally, 4-star point guard. He is defensive first. He's really low to the ground. He's a great on-ball defender, but he's being sold short, I think, offensively. And he had a good weekend this weekend, and the EYBL, he's, I believe, top 10 in steals right now. But offensively, he's shooting 58% from 2-point range, and that's your offensive deficient point guard. So he's explosive. There's a kind of internet famous clip of him blowing by Bronny James in a game last year and then dunking on a 7-footer. So that's the kind of athleticism we're talking about with him. And the thing I like about these three guys, Bailey, Sommerville, and Warren, is they all seem to be tough, hard-nosed players that, in high school, you don't always see even the top recruits play the hardest. But whenever you watch film of them, they're always exploding off the court, in terms of their energy, in terms of their athleticism, and how active they are, all three on both ends. So there is a kind of needle being thread, I think, in terms of their style. And then, of course, you have Dylan Harper, who's uncommitted, and word has, he's kind of given indications that he is planning to commit after the Peach Jam in July. Right now, his team's still trying to qualify for it. He plays for the New York Reds, prestigious AAU team locally, but they struggled early on in EYBL, but they had a big weekend, and I think they will ultimately qualify. But it sounds like the plan is to commit after the Peach Jam, which is in July, so not too far away at this point. And Duke appears to be the biggest competition for Rutgers. Indiana's in the mix. I think it is going to come down to Rutgers and Duke, and I feel pretty good about it. I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to do what's best for him. But I think that being from Jersey, seeing what his brother did at Rutgers, seeing how his brother Ron Jr., of course, who I'm talking about, helped transform the program, the relationships that Peichel and T.J. Thompson and Brandon Knight have with Ron, with their mother, how they've approached Dylan. They're just very genuine. Whenever family, I've said this before, but whenever families take the lead in recruiting, the Rutgers staff does really, really well because they are genuine. And I think that shines through. And I think that Dylan is someone that has a super high potential. He's got NBA all-star potential written all over him as well. I don't think Bailey or him, if Rutgers can get them to stay for 2 years, that would be probably the max, barring, injury or any unforeseen circumstance. But I think that both of them seem like they want to leave a legacy wherever they go, even if it's for a short period of time. They want to go somewhere where they're going to be remembered. And I always felt like that was the breakthrough that Rutgers needed to land the best recruits in terms of the heavy hitters that they never, for so many years, never hit on. the Lance Thomases, the Jay Williams, guys that wanted to be different and create a legacy by taking a chance on Rutgers. Now it's taking less of a chance because they're much more established and stable and successful under Steve Peichel. But still, I mean, those guys can go anywhere in the country they want. And it's looking very positive that they're both going to choose Rutgers. I mean, two of the top 4 players in the country, and the fact that they have a top 61, 61 and number 94 recruits behind them, 4 top 100 recruits. I mean, it's a bit surreal. It's a bit ridiculous in terms of just thinking about, as we're getting close to a decade with Steve Peichel, how far this program has come. Just the fact that we're even talking about this as a possibility, it's amazing. But going back to fit, right? Dellquan Warren and Dylan Harper in the backcourt together, it makes sense. It makes sense. Dellquan Warren is a guy that's defensive first, that's hard-nosed, that's going to, score in transition. But I think he's the type of player that he's not a score first point guard that has to have the ball in his hands the whole time. And Dylan Harper is a combo guard, but he's going to dictate pace. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to be the decision maker. He's not just a scorer. He distributes. He finds teammates. Without knowing these guys personally, without having been around them, it just, in terms of everything I read, everything I'm told, everything I hear, everything I see when I watch them, there is a team quality to them that's important to them as high-level recruits. You can see that the team dynamic is going to matter to them. And I think that Steve Peichel has them bought into the vision that if you come to Rutgers and you win, everything else is going to take care of itself. And they're going to naturally get major attention, and all eyes are going to be on them. And if they do something, that Rutgers has never done before, they're going to be remembered forever, whether it's a year, 2 years, whatever. And it's really, really exciting. I do think it's very interesting in terms of the dynamic of college basketball right now with the transfer portal, versus high school recruiting. I mean, teams are older and older, and you still have the COVID rule, right? In terms of players being able to stay an extra year. That will be phased out eventually. Actually, the year that 24-25 would be the last season, because it dates back to the 2021 season. Players that played in that season have that extra year. So that will be the last year of it. So that's a dynamic to wonder about. I mean, these 4 guys, they're going to play. They're going to play right away. And how the roster ultimately looks, if and when they all do arrive, it's going to be fascinating to watch for. Derek Simpson would be turning into a junior. Gavin Griffiths would be a sophomore. Mag potentially could be a 5th-year senior. I don't know if I'm forgetting any other key. Well, you have Wolf would be, I guess, going into a junior year. We'll see how Antonio Chol develops. Jermichael Davis would be entering his 2nd year, and yes, he's all good there. I think he'll officially announce and sign very soon. But this is going to be a relatively young team relying on young talent, and that's a lot harder to do nowadays and a lot more rare to see with the transfer portal as it is, and with the COVID rule with older players. So just something to think about. And when I come back to expectations, I'm not trying to temper expectations per se, but I do think the plan I see in terms of how their Rutgers staff sees them on the court together makes a lot of sense, especially with Simpson and Griffiths, potentially Mag. I mean, it just it would be a team that would be must-watch television, must-see in person. I mean, it would be an explosive, as athletic of a Rutgers team probably ever, as talented. I wasn't there for the 76 Final Four team, but they would be close in terms of the most talent, I would think, just on paper. Nothing's a guarantee, but I just like the way these pieces fit on paper in terms of their skill sets, in terms of Warren and Harper in the backcourt, and then Sommerville and Bailey in the front court. You have Gavin Griffiths on the wing. Mag is a versatile player. Simpson, could do play either guard role. So, and Jermichael Davis is underrated, but he's also super athletic. I mean, they're going to be able to run I would think they're going to run people off the floor at times, and also just in terms of their ability to press, their ability to be, throw different looks at opponents, which we know Peichel loves to do. And it is something to be said that, uh, these are offensive, highly offensively skilled players in Harper and Bailey. They're going to have to learn the defense too. So I don't think it's going to be all lollipops and rainbows. If they do come and, Rutgers is going to, be top 5 right away and, go 30, 20, 28 and 3 in the regular season, there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some bumps along the way. And I think obviously, for high level recruits, you need to go through that adversity to get better. And I do think that Dylan Harper brings that. I think he's going to be a very old freshman if Rutgers does ultimately land him. Obviously with his family history, his father's experience, his mother as a coach, seeing Ron go through it all the high level games he's already played in as a high schooler, both at Don Bosco and on the AAU level. He is, he really is, what could bring it all together, because he's going to be that kind of leader from day one. He's kind of a grizzled veteran coming in as a freshman. He really could be. I see that. So, what is there to say other than the waiting game, waiting until November, waiting until July to see if Harper does commit? I personally feel good about it, not knowing much, but just in terms of reading the tea leaves and seeing how things have gone, his relationship with Bailey, his relationship with the coaching staff, it just definitely feels positive. Bailey and his relationship with the coaching staff and how he's just been so pro Rutgers has been really fun to watch. And then Warren and Sommerville, I think Sommerville was a guy that Rutgers, they identified very early on. He was not highly rated for a long time, and now he's just getting better and better and better. He's ultimately, he wants to become a stretch forward, stretch center in terms of being able to shoot from the perimeter. I mean, that would be an amazing development in his own game, but also for Rutgers. I mean, they really would be offensively equipped to be very unpredictable, be very difficult to defend, multifaceted skill sets from so many different players. So a lot to be excited about. I probably missed something. Oh, I know what I wanted to say about Dylan Harper too. The Kurt Tang commitment when he went to Michigan State. For me, that was a positive sign for Dylan Harper in terms of his interest in Rutgers. I'm not saying that Rutgers obviously heavily recruited him, but for me, it was does Tang know that Harper, is leaning Rutgers, or is he worried about that or not? But Michigan State obviously a great place for him to end up. But when people were upset that Rutgers didn't get him, if you think about it on paper, I mean, he's the same position as Dylan Harper. So, and there might have been an ego thing too. That Dylan Harper is a top priority of the recruiting class, so that might have played into it too. But I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, other than, the potential for this class is immense. Sky's the ceiling. Long way to go. Long way to go. Like I said, have to see if Dylan Harper commits in July. Then you get to early signing period in November. It is an NIL world. It is a transfer portal world. Anything can change on the flip of a dime. We talked about the Rutgers roster in terms of what they're waiting on for next season. But it's hard not to look past the future, into the future for the following season as well. And it's really remarkable that Rutgers is potentially in this position right now, number 2 class ranked nationally in the 24 cycle, with not just the rankings, but the potential of those players and how they potentially will fit into the culture and the dynamic of this program. It's super exciting. So thank you for listening and watching once again, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.